Okay, so good morning everybody, and welcome to the Future Connectivity session. My name's Paul Fairburn. I'm Director of Innovation at Coventry University. We've got a cracking group of speakers with you this morning for this panel, so I'm really looking forward to the next 40 minutes. I just wanted to say a few quick words at the start as context, really, as to why Coventry University are interested in this whole agenda. What you probably or hopefully will know is that we're a leading modern entrepreneurial university. We've got a strong focus on student employability and working with business. And we've got a wide range of industry relevant study programs, including games art and games technology. But what you might not know is that we're launching a really exciting new £3.8 million initiative to support small businesses in Coventry and Warwickshire in the spring of this year. The project's designed to accelerate digital adoption and the uptake of 5G, and it's really focused on the development of new digital products and services. So we'll have access to proof of concept funding and investment, mentoring and workshops, but also importantly, access to a new state-of-the-art 5G facility in Coventry. So we're taking part in the event today really to get an insight into the new tech future market opportunities that are coming through, get an insight into the current challenges that are being faced by businesses, start to understand where the priority needs are, maybe some of the barriers to development and growth, because we really want to take this information on board and inform the project and make sure we're concentrating on the right thing. So we've got this cracking group of speakers, as I say. So before I hand over to Sarah, I'd like to ask each of the panel to introduce themselves in turn. So I'll come to Holly first, if I may.
Oh, hi everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today. I hope it's going to be an interesting session. My name is Holly Marshall. I live in southwest London and I'm an independent technology consultant, and I get involved in some really interesting things, predominantly around things like position navigation and timing, 5G. I do a bit around skills, but anything kind of leading edge is where I tend to play. So thank you very much, and looking forward to a great session.
Thank you, Holly. Alex, can I come to you next?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Alex Harvey, co-founder and creative director at River, and I did 10 years at Codemasters making racing games, and then started this in 2014. We started doing 2D video, then 360 video, and now photorealistic VR for the training people and entertainment all around the world.
That's great. Thanks, Alex. Julian.
Yep. Hi, everyone. So I'm Julian. I lead business development for the Media and Entertainment Group in EMEA for Unity Technologies. Hopefully people are familiar with Unity, but if not, we're a real-time 3D engine used by about 60% of the games industry. I've got 2 years experience at Unity and really kind of supporting the whole entertainment industry in that transition to real-time 3D. Kind of my background is everything from AR, VR, volumetrics, holograms, photorealistic digital humans, app development, and really kind of the whole remit of stuff. So working very much with industry, going through this huge era of kind of digital transformation across all these different technologies. So super excited to be here today.
Thank you, Julian. And yeah, to complete the jigsaw, Sarah, can I hand over to you for an introduction?
You can indeed. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Yes, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Windrum. My background is predominantly IT infrastructure. So I get very excited when people talk about things like low latency and dedicated bandwidth. And we're going to understand a bit later on, I hope, what that actually means in terms of products and services and experiences. I'm also the chair of the Digital Creative Business Group at Coventry and Warwickshire's Local Enterprise Partnership. So obviously really keen to champion this sector and secure our future. Am I going to go straight into facilitating on my Paul? He's on mute, so I think I am, yes.
Yes, please. Sorry, Sarah, yes, if you could.
No problem at all. So I've got some questions here for our panel, but I also want you to send in your questions as well, and they will be fed through to me, and hopefully we'll get a good discussion going. But to kick off, I think what I'd like to ask every member of the panel in turn is, what are you personally finding most exciting in terms of the new and emerging technologies that are coming, thinking about them as an enabler for future business and the future business opportunities? I'm going to come to Alex first, because I know he's doing loads of really exciting things. But can you pick a couple of the things that excite you the most?
Yes. Well, all of those subjects sounded amazing. Some of the stuff that you were saying, Julian, we definitely need to have a catch up afterwards. The things that are exciting me at the moment are the ability to capture real world spaces. We've always been able to do it with 2D video, photos and 360 video, but now we're at that point now where we can, like just last night, I'm in a hotel room in Cornwall. Just to set the scene a little bit, we're down here scanning some of the venues for the G7 summit. So we're turning them into 3D models for the firearms teams and other people to look at that data and walk around it before they actually come to the place. So the ability now is that we can walk around with drones using photogrammetry as our main tool to capture these environments. So we're moving past capturing a bubble or a spherical image or photo and moving into stepping into those worlds. So we've created fire investigation training for the fire guys all over the world, where they can go in and investigate the fires because we scan these buildings from scratch. But photogrammetry allows you to take any object, take thousands of photos of it and turn it into a 3D model. And that 3D model is the exciting bit, because people used to have to design that piece of art from scratch. They'd have to do it from reference photos or maybe some scan data. They still had to make it from scratch. But now we can just take thousands of photos. Like, just imagine that data is not an issue. We've got as much memory card space as we like. Let's just take thousands of photos. The more, the better. And then things just get exciting when you get to the 3D model, because then you can use that model in so many different ways, AR, VR, and also the things we're seeing now are LED panels, like volumes. So the whole of the Mandalorian, well, most of it was shot using LED volume. So you can now take these 3D models and put them on the background. Instead of having a green screen, you can make the person look like they're in these environments. And I think that's going to be one of the next things, virtual productions using 3D models. But that's, I mean, I could go off on a tangent on all of those things. But yeah, reality capture at the moment is exciting me in so many different ways.
We can hear your excitement as well, jumping out at us through Zoom. And I think you're right, that kind of ability to create these new worlds and using these technologies is very exciting.
It's important, just quickly, that we're trying to get to a point where we can make VR photorealistic environments in the same way we can make videos. Like, it needs to be as easy as that.
That's it, isn't it? That's it. It's about kind of streamlining the technology and the process. Completely agree, and making it accessible in that way. Holly, come to you. What's exciting you most about new and enabling technologies?
Fantastic. So for me, it's all about kind of being hardware free. I can kind of see a couple of technologies coming together and really combining, so that you don't need a PlayStation, you don't need an Xbox, but you're actually streaming games from the cloud and using gesture control to operate those games. And believe me, when you've got a 9-year-old who wants to eat a jammy dodger in one hand and play with his PS4 controller in the other, and that, I mean, it's just a whole, and a Nintendo Switch where the left controller goes and you have to send it off to Nintendo and go through that pain, and go through the pain of queuing in game to buy a CD, to ensure the CD, to make sure the CD doesn't go wrong, to put it, I mean, it's just that hardware creates a whole host of pain, which is kind of a barrier for mass market adoption, really. And just to put it into a business context, unless we unlock that so that nobody needs a PS4 and nobody needs an Xbox, nobody needs a Nintendo Switch, but actually you can just somehow live stream things wherever you are and use gesture control to say forward, to say up, to say down, and, you know, sort of volumetric capture and facial recognition and things like that, just to make it, the graphics much better. So I think for me, it's about unlocking game and the sort of the games industries for the mass market by getting rid of the hardware.
Very interesting. That's a good angle on it, I think, about how do we kind of remove. People talk about being hardware agnostic, don't they? But you're talking about kind of removing the need for it completely. So very, very interesting. Julian, what about you? What are you thinking about new and emerging technologies?
Yeah, so I think we're in this really interesting kind of point in time because there's just so much innovation happening. I mean, from so many different spaces. I mean, if we look at the 5G and cloud piece kind of specifically, that enables kind of so many more kind of richer experiences to be delivered to, really any device. I think we'll start seeing kind of cloud computing and edge computing will become more and more prevalent. So as Holly mentioned, we'll start being able to see these very typically restricted to one device kind of experience available anywhere. And I think that really then starts to look at, okay, well, I can access this experience from essentially any device. The next piece is XR. I think we're in this really interesting point as well, where we have this new wave of kind of XR platforms, which for the audience, if someone doesn't know what XR is, it's an umbrella term for augmented reality and virtual reality devices. I think we're completely on this next wave of devices. So, a lot of that will kind of redefine how experiences can be made, how they can be interacted with, and kind of set a new standard for storytelling and content interaction. I think we're seeing kind of smart cities and IoT is just growing in prevalence. So we'll start seeing, I think, the physical and the digital kind of blend more and more together. I think that goes on to Alex's point around virtual production. I think we'll start seeing these worlds kind of combine. And I think, on the audience side, I think we're seeing that audiences are demanding kind of these more personalized, more immersive kind of experiences right from the get-go. And I think a lot of that will be achieved through a lot of these new technologies coming online to really enable and build that future. So I think there's a ton of stuff out there, but I could go on for hours, but I think that'll do for now.
Brilliant. No, and I think I love that idea of the kind of playable city. I know Coventry did some stuff on that a couple of years ago, and that, as you said, that kind of idea of using XR experience beyond games in our kind of gamification of our our daily tasks and our lives. I think that's what particularly gets me excited, and edge computing kind of brings you back into my IT world. So it's good to hear that we're still going to be crucial and relevant. And so that kind of brings me to the next question that I've got around the role that the connectivity is going to play in all of this, and how important that kind of continuous, ubiquitous connectivity will be for the future of the whole of the digital economy, but obviously thinking particularly of games development today. And Holly, I know you're our leading expert on 5G and 5G implementation, particularly in Coventry at the moment. What are your thoughts on that? How important is the connectivity?
I mean, it's just a game changer, isn't it, really? 5G, when combined with games, is just a fundamental game changer, because it frees you up from having to be inside, basically. And if you think about how that might compare with some of those other technologies that have already been mentioned, being able to stream and things like that, it just opens up a whole new world. I mean, we saw what kind of Pokemon Go did around that time, and the low latency just kind of kills it, really. So 5G will bring the ability to stream much higher definition graphics, much more realism, sort of those hyper reality techniques that Alex was talking about earlier. They will be combined so that what you're seeing really looks like what's around you. I just think it's going to be an absolute game changer. I suppose the watch out with 5G is that all phones contain some technologies that haven't caught up yet with 5G, and I'm really talking specifically about the GPS chip, or any chip that uses sort of global navigation satellite signals to understand its position, its navigation, and its timing. So there's just a little bit of risk just because that whole technology is quite vulnerable in a way that 5G shouldn't be. So we're going to have this amazing low latency, sort of really secure ability to sort of segment the network into a private slice, so you can really guarantee sort of bandwidth and high availability. But then we're still going to have some limitations in the phone that things like the National Timing Centre, I think, will really help. So that's when they're sort of decentralising time to different points in the globe, especially in the UK, which is really exciting. But I think 5G is going to be a game changer. I think other technologies that phones still rely on need to catch up, because just they will then become the single point of failure, as opposed to 4G and the latency associated with previous networks. So yeah, 5G, high definition streaming when you're out and about, completely unlocks everywhere. You can see it because everyone's on their phones on the train, aren't they? Playing, you know, rubbish Words with Friends and flipping Tetris or whatever they're playing, like really rubbish, low sophistication games. So it's going to be amazing.
I think that's it, isn't it? And the game studios that I've spoken to certainly have said what's exciting, coming back to your point about hardware free, what's exciting actually with 5G is the ability to take the processing power away from the phone. So the phone, it's interesting you hear it talking about the GPS elements potentially still being the single point of failure, but the phone stops being a constraint in that way. So yeah, but I think it's those kind of caveats are important, aren't they? We do need to think about 5G as a blend of technologies and those technologies working together. Alex, Julian, did you have anything to chip in on 5G?
I was going to just say, a little bit on it. Obviously, it's been the word that people have been talking about, and everyone's trying to sort of, how can I use 5G? How can I use 5G? So we've got a few things that we're working on around it. 3 things actually. We've used with NVIDIA. We've used their Cloud XR system. So we've made our fire investigation system run in the cloud on a Quest 2 in the office, while the compute was being done in another building via the Wi-Fi. And the Quest 2 VR headset has inside-out tracking, so there's no lighthouses anywhere. So that was amazing. There's videos of that on YouTube if you want to see it. That will eventually be a good use case if, when the 5G connection is fast enough, we could do that in a field in the middle of nowhere. And also we've got a River Link system, which is our VR headsets in a box. And basically they can have 360 video streamed to them in a classroom or remotely. And 5G is going to enable a camera that we've made to be plonked anywhere with the fire or police and just have a live stream 5G as soon as the networks are available. And the other thing is rapid CSI capture. So we're making, after we've done the fire scenes, which we've made last year, we're doing crime scene investigation for the police. Full photorealistic, place the bodies where you like. There's stuff online, you can have a look at it. But we're making our own scenes with an advisory board to tell us how these crime scenes should be made. But what we know is going to happen is people are going to want to capture real world crime scenes and put them into the same system. So photogrammetry can utilize 5G on scene so that you can spit images up to the cloud and create a photorealistic model instantly in the cloud. And then anywhere in the world, you can jump into that scene, photorealistic, room scale, look underneath the sofa, look under, anything within reason, depending how long you want to spend cleaning the model up. But you could have a instant copy of a crime scene anywhere else in the world in VR. So that's our third thing. So yeah, 3 little things that we're working on around the 5G.
Brilliant. That all sounds really exciting, and it's interesting the use cases that you're developing at the moment with the kind of security and the police and those angles. And yeah, no, I find that all really fascinating. And I guess then how do those skills and use cases potentially transfer into other sectors? Julian, you can obviously pick up on 5G in this as well, but I want to specifically ask you about skills gaps and what you think the kind of current skills gaps are that we would need to address in order for, well, all of us, but obviously particularly thinking about the game sector, to capitalise on this connectivity, on 5G and the new blend of technologies that's coming.
Yeah, and so I think there's a few different answers to that, and I'll answer the 5G piece first, and then that will kind of lead into the skills piece. But I think what we're seeing, it's from our side and from industry, I think we see a world where all content will just be created with real-time 3D. I think 3G was kind of the era of video, 4G was the era of streaming, and I think 5G is kind of the era of 3D, whether that's real-time 3D and volumetrics and that side of things. On the skills side, I think we're seeing kind of so much digital transformation kind of happening across industry kind of right now that it's creating a huge shortage in real-time 3D skills, really across the board. I mean, Story Futures actually did a report relatively recently around immersive skills, and they found that 65% of the companies essentially identified the lack of skills, the lack of availability of the skills to be a blocker to them growing their business. And the number one skill that was missing was real-time 3D. And so I think we're seeing that across the whole spectrum of things. But the other kind of important thing that I think we need to figure out is, industry have a certain expectation as to what level talent should be at. And I think what we're seeing is the education isn't necessarily mapped up to that same level. So industry is taking on graduates and students, and they're having to kind of do a level of kind of retraining to ensure that they get to that right level. And then the final piece is that it's not just about skills as well. So actually there's a huge experience element to it as well, which actually validate and test the skills of the individual. So, again, on that Story Futures report, they found that 75% of those working in immersive have worked on less than 5 projects. Like there is a huge shortage of experience in being able to validate those skills. So that's kind of the overview, I guess, in doing it. But definitely, kind of real-time 3D is a huge skill that is missing across the market.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think that gives us kind of something really to focus on there as well, kind of putting my local enterprise partnership hat on. I think that's a really important point that you make, and the validation of the skills and the experience. What can we do to kind of support that and support the development of that talent pipeline? So yeah, that's really useful. I'll check out that Story Futures report. Just an appeal as well, if you've got any questions. I've got lots to ask the panel, and I'm happy to keep chatting away for the time that we've got. But if you have got any burning questions, please do put them in the Q&A section, and they will get forwarded to us. Holly, Alex, have you got anything to chip in on skills before we move to my next question?
I interviewed someone yesterday.
I was going to say, you must be feeling this absolutely firsthand. So yeah, how are you going about recruiting people?
Well, like most recently, we just did a job for Leamington Spa Art Gallery, the Pump Rooms, where they gave us a set of their objects, so a collection of the museum objects to scan photorealistic, and then they want to use them in augmented reality on phones so people can experience the objects that they can't touch anymore, or they couldn't touch anyway, but now because of COVID they can't do anything, so they're scanning their collection and making it AR. But we needed someone, because that's happening a lot. Lots of people are saying, games companies also come to us and say, can you scan a set of models? Or supermarkets come to us and say, can you scan a set of gin bottles? We had 20 gin bottles from Sainsbury's to scan in the office the other day. So each of these projects require a different amount of cleanup on the model. Sometimes people want the model, like the Sainsbury's ones, to have everything, all the details, all the maps, all the things, takes longer. So we need someone with that skill. So a quick shout to Mike Acosta. I think I met him at Interactive Futures last time, actually. But I speak to him on LinkedIn. And I'm like, Mike, have you got anyone at the college that is like really good at cleanup models, 3D optimization? And he's like, let me get back to you tomorrow. So next day, he gave me a guy's name, and the guy came in. I won't mention his name, but really good. Really nice guy. We're giving him a test model to look at. But we want that, at the moment, that skill set of 3D modeling and cleanup and optimization and environment art. That is basically what I'm after at the moment. We're short on that, definitely. And people that have got Unreal and Unity experience. I always like to pitch them both against each other. We have done everything in Unity so far, and I want someone to show me Unreal on a Quest. So I'm keen to try both.
Brilliant. And I mean, I think that's it, the kind of the networking, using interactive futures, using the colleges and the universities and tapping into that resource, I think is a really important.
It was funny because the guy in the interview said that he had seen me chat with the Oliver twins at the college. So it was a nice little full circle.
There you go. There you go. Love that. Holly, coming to you about the skills question, but actually thinking about that in terms of diversity as well. So obviously we've got we've clearly got a skills gap in this area, but do we need to be thinking about diversity when we're thinking about recruiting talent? And I'm assuming you're going to say yes.
No, we're all good there, Sarah. No, of course we're not. Of course we're not. Yeah, it's a massive storm on the horizon, isn't it? I finished a report actually, which is published on the UK 5G website about. It was written from a 5G perspective in terms of skills about what are the barriers to the UK in terms of delivering the benefits of 5G and all that 5G can bring. And there's a massive talent crisis in this country, and it sort of stems really from when students are very, very young. Unless you get them before about the age of 7. Girls automatically sort of start funneling off into sort of non-technical roles. And I don't think they have to be technical, but I think we need to engage young people, especially young women, in everything that's exciting about being in technology and engineering without banging on about physics all the time and without putting role models in front of them that they just can't relate to. So yeah, I'm really passionate about skills. I think it's one of the biggest barriers that we have to being really successful in the UK in these massively technical disciplines like games, which although it has a huge element of sort of art around it, actually, a lot of it comes down to sort of that ability to have that really logical, technical developer mindset. And there's not only do we not start young enough and we lose girls in the pipeline, I think something like 1 in 10 engineers in the UK at the moment is female, which is we're the worst in Europe, by the way. So we're really doing something wrong. We could really learn from other countries. But most of our engineers, not necessarily in the game sector, but most of our engineers, or half of them at least, are over the age of 50. So we've got a huge gender crisis in skills, and we've got a huge age diversity crisis in skills. And I know the government is doing some interesting work around that. So WM5G ran an interesting mentoring system for it was a pilot for people at Aston University, like the sort of the pre-graduate course there. So there are little initiatives going on, but I don't really see anybody attacking it on any great basis young enough in the pipeline. Another really interesting fact is where neurodiversity features and factors into all of this. And I think some organisations are trying to attract neurodiverse minds. And I think we lose a lot of neurodiverse minds. In fact, a study which looked at computer science graduates across the board realised that 6 months after graduating, a lot of computer science students end up out of work. And my feeling is that, ADHD and autism and some of those other sort of spectrum conditions, they have a lot to offer technical industries, especially industries like the game sector. And we just don't do enough to make the environment suitable for them. We don't think about sensory overload, and we don't think about the flexibility that some of those neurodiverse minds work. And we try and sort of shoehorn them into a neurotypical kind of framework and environment. Just doesn't work. So I think there are talent pools everywhere, and at the moment we absolutely need to be harnessing them and doing something about it. And I don't see huge amounts going on there, if I'm honest.
I think you make some really important points actually about diversity across the board in terms of, as you say, gender, age, and neurodiversity as well. I think that's certainly something that's been kind of ticking over in my mind for a while. And just a bit of a plug this week for Digital Schoolhouse and the Digital Schoolhouse activities that are starting from tomorrow. That's all about trying to encourage particularly girls. I mean, it's aimed at kind of year 6 at primary school, but it's a program that's been developed by Yuki, and it's proven to support girls into taking computer science at GCSE. I think because of the way that they're teaching computational thinking in a more creative way. But I think that neurodiversity point is a really good one. And actually, we need to think about our workplaces in that respect and how we harness those skills, definitely. Alex, I'm going to come to you now, because I know you're doing some incredible things. You've given us a highlight of some of them, but just kind of parking skills for a moment as a barrier. What are the other barriers that your businesses are sort of faced when you're trying to take advantage of these new opportunities and these new technologies?
I guess my question would be, what sort of barriers in terms of going out and doing the work, you think, or capturing the work or getting the jobs?
Yeah, either. I mean, if you had, maybe you haven't experienced any, which would be great, and I'd love to know how we kind of recreate that across the piece. But yeah, have you experienced any barriers? I mean, is funding, is investment an issue?
Oh no, yeah, barriers. Okay, so it's very hard to get in. It's very hard to get your message, your idea, to the companies that you want to get it to. For me, sometimes, but I feel like I've found a way. So it used to be hard, but now we just do one thing for free, and that gets over every barrier. And if you think that idea is good enough, I know there's a lot of people that moan about people that say do things for free, but when I first started at Codemasters, I said to the video team, can I come and work for you for a month for free? And then I got a contract after that. So it worked since then. But we, for example, Compton Verney, just down the road, is an art gallery and museum. And we did a project, I think, with Coventry University, but we pitched that as a video. It's just a video direct to the CEO on LinkedIn. It's the only way to do it for me. Is record a face video of you talking your idea with some screenshots and stuff. That's what I did for this one. And then we ended up doing a 360 video of the day in the life of an owl at Compton Verney, telling you about the landscapes and how Capability Brown developed all the landscapes. So it's really cool for kids. We filmed it with a drone, so you feel like you're flying. You can look around 360 everywhere. Anyway, and then we scanned inside the Adam Hall. It was a 2-part project. We scanned in the Adam Hall, made a photorealistic replica, but inside there was 3 paintings on the wall that had been sold off 100 years ago. So we found the paintings in London, photogrammetry scanned them, put them back on the wall, and now there's a VR experience of you to see these paintings back on the wall. So yeah, there's been barriers for me. It was hard to get the ideas out to people, to show them what you're trying to say. For me, people don't yet understand what can be done with reality capture and virtual reality. There's not enough time to go into it now, like Julian said, but there's tens of projects that we're working on where we're turning real world places into experiences for different people. St Mary's Church in Warwick's tunnels, they're documentary experiences, but they're also going to be VR experiences. So you'll watch the documentary and then go into the experience. So this is going to be a way for so many people. St Mary's Church in Warwick, for example, is losing 35 grand a year just from not having people go up the tower. So I've been there, scanned the whole place. We can put it online. I can put it on the App Store for $4.99, and we can share the split after Facebook have had their bit. But that is going to be a model. That's going to be a model for so many people, AR or VR.
I think that's really interesting, and it kind of feeds into some of the work I've been doing with the creative industries, actually, about how you create these new business models with these new technologies. Julian, coming to you, what's been your experience? Is that kind of construction of a new commercial model being kind of part barrier, part opportunity for people, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's kind of a few different kind of pieces that there. So if we look at kind of the barriers, I guess, to the businesses in general and taking advantages of these things, we're seeing that across industry, because of the pace of innovation, there's so much duplication of efforts. So you have 90% of the work that everyone is doing is essentially the same. They're trying to overcome the same problems. And I think it's looking at what are the standards that need to be in place to kind of create that foundation for other people to then build upon, because that 10% at the top is really what the companies care about. They don't care about the 90%. So it's saying how you can help kind of accelerate that journey. In terms of kind of the how that then materializes into revenue opportunities, I mean, we are very much in an uncharted space in terms of where this is all heading. I mean, there's there's been a huge rise over the last year and a half on kind of social platforms, interactive social platforms. So whether it's things like virtual concerts in Fortnite, Wave, or other platforms like that, I think that will just continue to grow. And as a result, we're seeing kind of new models around digital merchandise and that side of the business kind of really grow and flourish, to the point where you have games that are completely free to play, and you have millions of people around the world kind of join and play these games, but the developers are making money on that digital t-shirt that essentially they make once and they sell 500,000 times. So there's kind of this really kind of interesting model there that is really, I think, just the start of much more to come. I think we're probably going to start seeing more of those kinds of spaces be created, whether it's like you have Roblox and Minecraft and all these other ones. And I think we'll start building kind of other business models off the back of all of it as well. But certainly in innovation and the pace of innovation we have, there's a huge amount of opportunity for companies to kind of take advantage of.
Just on,
sorry, carry on, Alex. Yeah.
Just say on that, like Shutterstock photos or videos, it's a massive market now. I'll say to everyone who knows how to do 3D modeling, scan everything. Scan your shoes, scan your bedroom, maybe not your bedroom, scan just everything that you own and upload it using your phone to Sketchfab or any of the platforms like Turbo Squid. People are buying models, like you said about t-shirts. People are buying 3D assets. If you make your model good enough, clean it up, close all the holes, make it have loads of good textures and maps, people will buy it for £3. Like, people can make money in different ways. It's not even things that happen in the future. This is like now. I'm in Travelodge. I scanned the inside of this room with my phone last night, uploaded it to Sketchfab. You can go and have a look if you want, but it's not very interesting. But that's the way things are going to go. You'll have a model of everything. So yeah.
I think that's really interesting, and as I say, part of the work I've been doing with some of the creative industries on some of the sort of immersive stuff is around that and the purchase of 3D assets. And you made a really good point at the very beginning about the kind of the production process and how easy that needs to be. And part of that is, as you say, these creation of 3D assets. I'm going to come back, if I may, though, to the digital merchandise kind of opportunity, and I guess balance that a little bit as a parent to a 9-year-old who keeps pestering me about buying Robux in
Robux.
Yes. And so, Holly, I'm going to come to you, because I know this was something we talked about in our kind of briefing about thinking about the consumer in all of this, because we talked a lot about the businesses and the talent pipeline, but what about the consumer, and what do we need to be mindful of to make sure that they've got an engaging experience, but that they're also protected as well?
I mean, instinctive. So it's a really good question, because it's one of the barriers, I think, again, to mass adoption, is around parental controls. I mean, I've got a computer science degree. I make a living out of technology. My son, who's not allowed to play with people he doesn't know in Minecraft, I went to great lengths to set up sort of 10 generic Minecraft logins, 10 generic passwords, so I could be really specific about who he was playing with. Somehow he's managed to get around that. And I feel like it's like the Wild West. And he's in this world that I don't know enough about, that I can't control, that I feel the parental controls are sort of like from the 1960s. They're absolutely not keeping pace with the sophistication of how young people are using these games. We have incident after incident of chat that happens that one parent sees, doesn't like that chat, gets in contact with another parent, that came from somebody which we didn't. I mean, it's like the Wild West, and it frightens parents, and it pushes the adoption age of kids playing games up much higher. Whereas I'm a big believer that they have a huge amount to learn from games, you know, logic and problem solving and things like that. So I'm a huge believer in screen time, strangely, as long as it's limited and they're getting outside and all the rest of it. So I think screen time has a huge amount to offer, but it's really terrifying for a lot of parents. So there's that whole parental controls and security, which really needs ever such a lot of attention to bring it up to the same level as the sophistication of the games themselves. And then, yeah, there needs to be some way of managing that. Robux. I mean, I use that to my advantage. If I need a row of J's, we always get our J's round the wrong way. If I need a row of J's, you know, 400 Robux is absolutely the way to do it, and I get that. But at the same time, it needs a bit of careful management. You know, it needs like you have the ability to shut down a game at 8 o'clock. You need some help with that, really. Otherwise, it becomes a blocker, and you get parents saying, "No, my child's not playing that game because of X, Y, and Z." So yeah, I think it's all about that, controlling that digital merchandise a bit. But it's a huge motivator. I mean, skins in Minecraft. I mean, you know, if we lose one, it's a disaster. And if we haven't got the latest one, it's a disaster. Sorry, I'm painting a really needy child, and he's not that bad. I'll just make it a point.
No, but I think it's a really good point, and I think it's, as you say, it's that kind of balance of opportunity and protection of the consumer. And I think, as you say, information to parents and just being you know, kind of open and transparent about that. I've been given a 5-minute warning, and we've got a question from the audience about the role that games development and the role that games organisations and businesses play in promoting early careers and how we can make that more diverse. So Julian, I'm going to come to you because I know the Unity Academy does a lot of this sort of work. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so yeah, from our side, I mean, we're, you know, our whole ethos as a company is we believe the world is a better place with more creators in it, right? And that's from any background, from any age. It's enabling creators from really kind of, you know, any side of the world, if you like. You know, we've kind of looked at, you know, number one is how do you help kind of much younger ages kind of get into you know, engineering and game design and that kind of stuff. So we have a you know, we've just done a project with Lego, actually, which is called the Lego mini game, which essentially allows people at a very young age to go in and basically build these Lego worlds, but by using kind of Lego blocks, and each Lego block has kind of the equivalent of a programming behavior. So it's a really kind of nice, easy way for people who maybe, you know, don't want to do kind of your hard coding straight away and at much younger ages, but to learn the mechanics and the basics and that side of things. So we have that side. We also have like a learn live with code session, which is around creating mini games, you know, again, for those younger ages and inspiring those, especially kind of pre-secondary school, if you like. But we also have another program, which is called Unity for Humanity. And this is really looking at social impact around the world and how creators are using kind of the game engine to be able to create impact, whether that's across climate change, whether it's across diversity, whether it's across all these different areas. And we've seen, I mean, there's incredible examples of things that are coming out of that, whether it's charitable work and all that kind of stuff. So as a company, there's actually, I believe it's $140 million is going towards that effort to support that on a global scale, right? And this isn't just something that needs to be addressed in the UK. This needs to be addressed everywhere, right? And it needs to be figured out. We're also working, you know, with kind of various kind of government entities and universities kind of across the UK to see how can we kind of help the students come out with a certain level of certification. So, you know, it's kind of validated for industry. So industry can go, okay, well, we know this person is up to a certain level. So we're looking at really doing that across the whole of the UK to see, to help solve exactly these elements of how do we align students with industry and kind of guarantee that role on the other side of it. Because there's nothing worse if you're a student, you come out of university, you spent all the time and money going through the course, and then it's like, well, I just can't find a role. Well, let's accelerate that because we know the demand's there. So let's ensure that that's mapped up.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And yeah, I think that's a really positive note to end on. And just want to say a massive thank you to the panel. We've had some great discussion. Got lots more questions that I could ask, but hopefully this will be the start of continual conversations. I promised Paul some time to wrap up. I've not given you a lot. Apologies.
That's quite all right, Sarah. Thank you. And I'd also like to extend my thanks to Sarah and the panel, to Alex and Holly and Julian. Some really rich and interesting discussions there, some great points to take away. So thank you all to the audience as well for listening. Just a reminder that you can use the conference app to connect with us. And please, if you're interested in the small business initiative that I mentioned earlier, just drop into our virtual booth. There's some connections there in the registration page so you can find out some more details. But we'll leave it with you because I know Stacey wants to keep it tight. So enjoy the rest of your conference and the rest of the week. Thank you, and thanks again.